What's good, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? JDaisy here with the JDaisy Gaming Channel. Here with everything. That's right, everything. We're going to address everything today. Yes, I'm being facetious. The game actually is called Everything, and it was released on Steam, probably 2 weeks. I think I'm about 2 weeks behind now. And as the name entitles, you can play as everything. The game is, to the best of my knowledge, supposed to be a philosophical thinking type of thing. It's currently on, like I said, it came out on Steam April 21st. So yeah, about a week ago. It's $14.99. I think you got it for a discount if you bought it before, like $2 off or whatever. Yeah, it came out April 21st. It's getting really, really good reviews. Apparently, it has a DLC. Oh, for music. Okay. I like when games do that. Anywho, getting off their Steam page. And the game plays, as you can see, you start off the game as a kind of comedy floating through the darkness entity. And then you spawn eventually into the mind of a gorilla. And this is where the game kind of gets into its both pros and cons. If you are anything larger than, say, like a rabbit or a bird, you rotate when you walk. Anything below that, you skitter. You kind of you hop around. And animate or inanimate objects, I found like obelisks just kind of float across the ground. Or trees kind of grow as they go. Plants grow. Which makes sense. Buildings rotate like obelisks. Tools, like I found a pickaxe once, just kind of rotate, and that makes sense. It's the large animals that rotating that really kind of breaks this immersion for me. And I've heard a lot of people that's kind of a thing, but my roommates were watching me play this, because it's kind of more of a movie, really, less than a video game. I really feel, really trying to get you to think. I feel that's what they were going for. Maybe I'm interpreting wrong, but that's what I got. It's definitely more of a thinking game, less of a gaming game, less of a gameplay game. So the fact that you rotate when you are a large animal is distracting, but I don't think it destroys the experience of the game at all. For full disclosure, I've played about an hour, maybe 2 hours in the game. Now, it's really hard to say whether that's a really long time into the game or a really low time into the game. If you're somebody that has to go through a game and collect all the collectibles, you're going to be in for a long fucking ride there, buddy. The game boasts that you can be over like 3,000 different things. You can take control over 3,000 different entities, or however you want to phrase it. And that's a lot of fucking shit. That's from something as large as galaxies and clusters and planets and continents to something as small as sodium, like sodium, or a bacteria or a blade of grass. And that's where the game gets really cool. It does really small things and really big things really, really well. When you're floating around as a little insignificant microbe or something, that's done really well. When you're a giant planet, you kind of lose it because you don't follow orbits or anything. You just cut right through stuff. So that breaks it a little, but nothing crazy. Especially like if you're the universes, that's really cool. So it does really large things well and really small things really, really well. So that's really cool. And the reason I keep saying that it's more of a thinking game and less of a playing game is because the whole time you're going around talking to these different rocks or trees or animals or bacteria or whatever, they'll give you little quotes about existence, pretty much about I didn't think until I started thinking, and all these different really philosophical quotes. And for someone that had to take a lot of philosophy classes with my degree, it's always kind of refreshing to go back to those kind of thoughts. You don't really run into them at daily age. You're not delivering mail and go, I'm going to think about what it means to be a thing today. So that's really kind of cool. And the whole time, you have the wonderful Alan Watts talking to you when you find little blurbs. And to me, that's been the whole goal of the game, is to find Alan Watts blurbs. If you don't know, he's a very famous philosopher and teacher. Very, very ahead of his time, I think, personally. Talking a lot about what it means to be alive, what it means to be a thing, why we all don't just kill ourselves if there's no real meaning to it all, that we're all really, really small. And if you let this game take a hold of you, if you kind of just let go of, oh, well, the animations suck, or all this, and you just kind of let it do its thing. Like, when I played this, it was the only thing on the screen. I make it no secret that I normally have a second screen going with YouTube or movies or something when I play. But letting this be the only thing I was concentrating on really, really, really improved my experience. And if I were to recommend this, I would say do that and wear headphones. Just kind of let the game grip you and take a hold of you. But as far as the gameplay goes, we've talked about the animations. What you do as the things, you can go around the play area, and you don't notice it when you're small things or when you're big things, but you do, once again, when you're like the medium-sized things. The play area is very small. It's very condensed. You can actually see all four corners of the existence that it renders. So if you go by a tree, and you remember that tree or a building, and you keep going in the same direction, you'll find that same tree and building again and again and again and again. So it renders only a small area. But that's really only noticeable as those medium things, as like obelisks, animals, stuff like that. That's when you really notice it. When you're small things, you don't really notice it. But other than that, you just kind of go around as these things. There's no better way to describe it. You go, I don't know how else to describe, from a sun to a particle to a pickaxe to a obelisk to a circle. That you can find the sphere, a sphere that is, or a cube. Those are in here. Or Higgs boson, or geese, or a hut, or a lit torch, or a wall. Those things are all in here that you can be: a continent, a building, a car, a bus. You know, just an endless supply of things. And that's why I say it's one of the collectors would be nightmares, because there is an index of all these things you can be. And as you find them, obviously it unlocks them, and it shows you, hey, you've been this and this and this and this. And eventually you can spawn them. I've never been able to do that per se. Just being able to look at it, and it normally has a little blurb about what they are. You know, that's a fowl, or the sphere is a basic construct of an image. But once you're that thing, you can do one of two things, or one of three things. Let's go with three. You can either A, go around by yourself. B, you can hit, I believe it was V, vector, and gather any of the same things around you. You get them together, and you will move as a herd, as a group. And I have really fun with this as the obelisk, because they just kind of go across the ground. They just glide. It's awesome. So you can either grab things similar to you, or once you get to it, you can grab things that are like you. So if you're a bug, you can grab several bugs, and now you're a herd of bugs. The other thing you could do is if you hit B, bravo, you dance. And the way you dance is they move, whatever you are as a group, you have to have one or two or more of whatever you are. They'll start moving in these weird dances, these weird little configurations. They just go around and do and do and do. If you watch it long enough, you'll see the same ones repeated, but it takes a little bit, actually. And as you do this, a little meter fills up, and if you hit a button, and it's forgetting which button it is off the top of my head, you spawn a new one of you. So if you start as 2, and you do this a while, you can get a whole herd of whatever you are. Whether that be buildings, or torches, or obelisks, or bugs, or birds, whatever. You can get a whole herd of you relatively quickly. So if you're a bunch of Higgs bosons, you can have a bunch of Higgs bosons. And that's just how you get more things. But the whole goal of the game is to keep moving, I feel. I feel like if the developers did very little to explain things other than basic controls to you. And just let the game do itself, and I love it. I love that it's not overarching, like, go here to do this. No, a little thing will just pop up like, hey, there's a blurb over here, or a Alan Watts quote over here. At the beginning, it kind of pushes you to go down, because spoiler, let it sit for a second. Spoiler, the deeper down you go, once you hit a certain point that it all becomes kind of 2001 Space Odyssey, once you go down deeper into that, you fall into another universe. You just start the whole process over. So going down is the same as going up, and going up is the same as going down. So it raises the question: what are we? What are things? What is existence? And I don't think that's me telling you that. That would come to most people that play the game, that think at any higher level than basic. Yeah, you need a slightly high level of thinking to get into this game. I think if you're going in with, just 2 + 2 = fish, you might not get some of the subtle things of the game. Alan Watts is great, but he tends for you to have a solid understanding of existence and what you are. So yeah, as you go smaller, everything eventually falls back into bigger. So being a one thing for a while kind of is fun, and that's where a bulk of the gameplay is. But it really wants you to just keep going down and down and down, and then once you get down, you're up again. So just keep going down and down and down until, in theory, you find everything. God, if you find everything in this game, good job to you, fella. Because God, I don't even know. Because certain planets have certain things. You could go to a desert planet and there'll be just desert trees or desert animals. You go to a continent planet, now there's completely different life forms. You go to a city, now you gotta I have yet to find one of the cities. Just haven't found one yet. I'm sure it's on a certain continent, I just haven't found. But yeah, so this is everything, and I think I've talked about it enough. I really do think it's worth a play. $15 is a... If you really like philosophical thinking, and I really kind of do, I really enjoy that kind of stuff, I really think it is worth a buy at $15. Some people might argue that and say, no, it's really not, you don't get a lot of it, and I can respect that. If you only want something for pure gameplay, you don't want to think anything more about it, you probably won't get the satisfaction and knowledge of this game. I get that, and that's not for everyone. It's not, if you only play first-person shooters, you pick this up, you're gonna be unimpressed. And I don't hold that against anyone. So if you really like this kind of games, you kind of like that meta feeling, definitely look into this. Or maybe wait for it to come on sale. Like I said, it's brand new, but at brand new, it's $15. I think that's really good for the amount of thinking and thought that will go into this. Instead of, I will include the typical exit, little 4-second video I always put at the end of every single video. But I'm just gonna stop talking now and just let Alan Watts finish this off. Give you a little something, little bit of taste of what the game kind of makes you think about. Don't take it. I just picked one of the random clips that I could and just inserted it here at the end. So don't take it as me giving you any crazy things or whatever. As always, guys, we're all in this together. See you in the next one.
When, as a scientist, you describe the behavior of a living organism, you try to say what a person does. It's the only way in which you can describe what a person is. Describe what they do. Then you find out that in making this description, you cannot confine yourself to what happens inside the skin. In other words, you can't talk about a person walking unless you start describing the floor. Because when I walk, I don't just dangle my legs in empty space. I move in relationship to a room. And so in order to describe what I'm doing when I'm walking, I have to describe the room. I have to describe the territory. So in describing my talking at the moment, I can't describe this just as a thing in itself, because I'm talking to you. And so what I'm doing at the moment is not completely described unless your being here is described also. So if that is necessary, if, in other words, in order to describe my behavior, I have to describe your behavior and the behavior of the environment, it means that we've really got one system of behavior. That what I am involves what you are. I don't know who I am unless I know who you are. And you don't know who you are unless you know who I am. In other words, we're not separate. We define each other. We're all backs and fronts to each other. We and our environment, and all of us and each other, are interdependent systems. We know who we are in terms of other people. We all lock together. And this is, again and again, the serious scientific description of how things happen. And any good scientist knows that what you call the external world is as much you as your own body.